Jack's RPG Podcast.
I'm in Max.
Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Season 21, Episode 17 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Gina.
My name is Adam.
My name is Stork. Adam, you're back.
I'm back.
This is pretty cool.
Excellent.
This is actually some deja vu because my very first podcast was sitting in between Gina and Stork, who I had just met for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now?
I know. The love of Monster Hearts was bonded us that night.
Yeah.
And now it's
The love of Monster Hearts compels you.
Yes.
The love of Monster Hearts compels you.
It does. It compels me.
I will baptize
Is there
you
a
with rye.
possessed
Yes.
playbook? There should be a possessed playbook. You get the Infernal.
There are so many playbooks.
Yeah.
In this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast, Mike from MI, is that Michigan or is that Mobile Infantry? Starship Troopers.
Or it's MIT and he just forgot.
What have you
Awesome.
been doing a lot?
I've listened to it 3 times this year.
You might have a
Starship
problem.
Troopers. No,
Because it's an amazing and excellent novel.
Mike from MI brings up Schrodinger's plot hook, which is the term I coined for what he's talking about.
I love this.
Steve in SoCal writes in about faith and religion in RPGs, and Daniel from Australia has a small GURPS-based well actually about languages. But first, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, happyjacksrpg, all one word. And if you'd like to watch the show live, you can watch us at happyjacksrpg.org/live, happyjacks.org/live. And we do the show on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time currently.
If you just go to your search engine, Alta Vista even works, and just type in a Boolean search thing for Happy Jacks
Ask Jeeves.
RPG, it'll come up. It probably won't work on Bing, but it'll work on everything
No,
else.
Bing's fantastic.
Log on to AOL with your free disc that you got at the grocery store.
Or
On a box of Cheerios.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I started using a thing called seerx.me.
SEER?
I think it's SE.
Excuse me a minute while I go out and kick your dogs around.
I know.
I'll be right back.
They're just lonely.
There's something bothering them.
They want some bourbon.
What's it called? Seerx.com. SEERX.com. And that'll work for like 5 minutes. We're like, what?
When you're 20 years older than you are now, will you record something like that for me, and so I can watch it every day? Because that was awesome.
Record it now because it won't have the syllables. It
Oh,
won't have
true.
any teeth.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seerx for certain things is a fantastic search engine. If you're doing research and stuff like that, because it gets a lot of like academic things. It's fantastic search engine for some stuff, not for everything, but for some stuff.
Interesting. I downloaded 7 new browsers like a couple months ago because my favorite browser was being a brat. And my other,
Mozilla sucks now. It sucks.
no,
It's
mine
terrible.
was. I'm sorry, it was Chrome. It was laggy as shit.
Yep.
Well,
And I reinstalled it. I did all the things.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Microsoft
what
Edge.
happened. Oh, that wasn't my favorite.
I found it to be pretty quick.
It is actually quick, and it's a
It's
little
not
bit-
Internet Explorer
Yeah.
anymore. They recoded it.
Yeah.
I also the Brave browser.
Oh, I tried Brave,
It won't.
Cobalt.
Brave
Dragon
browser.
and
If
Drag-
you install an
yeah.
ad block on Brave browser,
Yeah.
Have you tried Chromium, which is
Yes.
Chrome's...
Hello. I think I can actually put developer or something on my fucking resume now, though, because of Chromium.
Yeah.
Like, you had to install it all yourselves, and then you have to...
that's what's on my Raspberry Pi.
I have a 21-year-old
Yeah.
nephew living with me. It just showed up on my computer one
It
day.
is some
I haven't
bleeding
really tried
edge.
it.
Canary is better for that. It's
Really?
a little more user friendly, but I wanted
It's
to
just
be a
my
big
entire
nerd and
life.
use Chromium.
My entire life is stored on Google Autofill. So
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I
mine
don't
too.
know how I would get into any of my passwords without it.
I changed my default.
Don't hack me.
I changed my default from Google for my search engine to Seerx.
Yeah.
It lasted about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because there's some stuff it doesn't do that you start to rely on. It's like, how do you spell this word? and if you put it in wrong, CRX doesn't always correct it. Whereas Google, always, even if you get close, it's going to say, "Did you mean this?"
You know what's an awesome browser is Opera.
Yeah.
Opera's fantastic, but I was using Opera Neon, which I loved, and it just stopped. Windows 10 said, no, thank you. I
will bring this up since we're on the topic, and maybe some brilliant reader can help me fix this problem. But so the thing that I use on Google the most is Google image search.
Right.
And Pinterest and Tumblr have ruined it.
Yeah, they're up at the top.
Yeah.
Everything. I don't have a Pinterest account, and it bothers the hell out of me.
Yeah. It's just Google image search, and then it's just like thousands upon thousands
cool
of
image.
Pinterest and Tumblr entries, and no actual credit to the original sources. And so there's so much that I can't use now because I can't trace it back to where it actually came from.
Are you a weirdo like me too, and you won't click on the sponsored shit?
Oh,
like
yeah.
I go,
Nope.
Nope.
If you're a sponsored link, I'm sorry. It's not working.
Yep.
But if anybody knows a way around that, or something that will, because I don't want to type in the -% Tumblr.com and -% Pinterest.com, etc. every time I Google image search, and I do
not working.
I got my keywords, so I just type GI and whatever I'm looking for in my browser bar, and just boom, image search, and this is my jam. This is something that I use like every single day for so many things.
Oh yeah.
I just need a browser that can handle all the bookmarks I have, because I've been using this stuff since Netflix. Or no, not Netflix. I'm sorry, Netscape.
Netscape.
Right. And I've probably got 20 years worth of bookmarks that have been transferred back and forth between browsers, and it is vast.
Yeah. Half those things are probably broken now.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I still want them.
Right.
They're there. I might need them later. It's like the keys on my key ring.
No, they're really not stored.
Do you throw them away?
They're
You
not
throw those
coming
keys
back.
away?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what they're for? What if you can't get
You
in your
might
house?
find the lock.
Yes.
I don't ever get people that carry like the massive key rings of everything.
Yeah.
Like
if I
That's
have
me. I should probably turn that off.
okay.
If I have a key that I don't know what it's for, I try everything that uses a key in my apartment. If it doesn't fit one of those things, it goes in the trash.
Yep.
So, yeah. Same thing with bookmarks.
What do you do though when you go to your storage locker that you forgot about and you can't get in?
Then you get a key or you cut it off with a bolt cutter.
Right? Yeah.
Welcome to our RPG podcast.
Yeah, we're talking about so many RPGs.
Techno-babbling and keys.
So
I blame myself. This never happens when Cappy's on.
So tonight on Happy Jacks, we're playing the game Old People and
Old
our
People versus technology. The Renaissance Pleasure Fair is going on.
I'm still doing a Monster Hearts with old people versus technology. It's great.
Yeah.
I totally did a quick mix.
Oh my God! Now I want to make. What was that movie that came out with the assassins? It was like Red something, and like Helen Mirren played this like retired assassin.
Red.
Red. Yeah.
Retired exterminators. It's based
Oh,
on
is
the
that
comic.
what it was for? Oh, okay. Now I want to play that, like that concept, like what's the word I'm looking? Senior citizen operatives in like a cyberpunk. Sprawl kind
they're
of.
in wheelchairs.
Yeah,
and they're like too crotchety to like. Oh my God, you kids these days, you don't remember dial-up,
right? Yeah.
when we were jacking the net, we had to go on dial-up.
Right. Yeah.
We would wait for 25 minutes in that freaking lobby till we could get in.
I ran
punching the walls. I wrote graffiti.
I ran a Moment of Truth playtest at a con. It was a one-shot that was all the characters were retirees.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm into it.
I was actually going to put a skill in there. Restaurant check haggling.
Perfect.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I love it.
You guys should take this and run with this. I'm totally seeing the scene from like Matrix where he's waiting for the weapons to show up and it's just a loading
what year
sign.
was Hackers was 1995.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's right. Yeah.
That's
a while ago.
4 more years and I can order on the senior menu.
Nice.
I'm waiting. Like, this is all I get?
Your AARP card shows up at 50 though. That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, I've already been getting those.
Fantastical.
This is just like the first time I was on, where I derailed every conversation.
I don't think it's just you.
Yeah.
You guys are easy targets. Sorry.
The Renaissance Pleasure Fair is going on this weekend. This is the 4th weekend. You can come and see us, the Boggards at Rogues Reef Stage, 1 p.m., 2:15, 4 p.m., 5:15, and we're doing a meetup at noon.
And yes, big Happy Jacks meetup.
Saturday, tomorrow at noon.
And I've read somewhere, I think it was you that posted, it's RPG.
It's International Tabletop Day 2018.
Tomorrow or today?
It's tomorrow.
Awesome.
So we have our awesome meetup, 12 o'clock, Rogues Reef Stage. And we'll be streaming tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. So we will be participating all over the place.
Coincidence?
Cool.
I think not.
Or possibly. I don't
amazing.
know. Yeah.
It's amazing. All right.
We're plugged in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Plugged in with dial-up.
Oh, Lordy.
I was so excited when I bought a 96K modem.
Me too.
And it did and then it makes another tone, and it goes, it's even like faster. You can tell it's more condensed. I'm like, this is going to be amazing.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Do you know when I finally switched to like getting like a fast internet thing, and it wasn't for the porn, believe it or not. Although that was annoying me. It was actually, remember when Lord of the Rings first came out, he was posting stuff behind the scenes and posting trailers and stuff. It was like the first use of the internet. And I remember I was downloading like all day to see some of this early trailer stuff, like all day, and I came home and something happened and it dropped and I had to start all over again. It took like 12 hours. And I'm like, that's it. What's my time worth?
Yeah,
damn, I went to work. I came back. I'm looking forward to seeing this thing. Got my beer. Got ready. It's like corrupt.
Yeah.
My first modem was 300 baud.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
A TI 99-4A.
I knew you back then.
Had 4K of memory.
Yeah.
Remember, and the hard drives weren't good either. Remember,
I didn't have hard drives.
Had to load high so that you could like put everything.
I didn't even have floppy drives. I used a cassette tape.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yep.
Yeah.
The TI. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they ever made. They might have made a floppy for it at some point, but I don't know.
The first computer my dad got for his real estate office back in the early '80s, and it was the tape cassette drive. Yeah. 64 pixels or something, like 64 bits,
the Amiga?
or something like that.
Well, 64K was probably how much memory it had.
Yeah.
Or were you talking about the transfer?
I just remember it had 64 squares on the screen, and that's how. And you know.
Oh no!
What?
So yeah. And,
Right, we were about ready to start.
All right.
All right. Schrodinger's plot hook from Mike in the Mobile Infantry. Hey, Stu, douchebags.
Could be Mission Impossible.
It could be. Douchebagettes. It could be. Well, I won't spoil. Douchebagettes and non-binary douche containers.
Yay! Thanks.
I have been listening to your show for a while, and you often bring up lists of rumors for PCs to stumble upon and investigate. Some true, some false. It took me a bit to realize, and that's kind of a common thing in especially in the old days. It took me a bit to realize these things are these are things the GM prepares for or is willing to prepare for if the PCs show interest in a particular item. I've started using them in my own game as well. Some rumors true, some are just baseless rumors. I had the thought, though, what if the GM were to come up with a list of rumors, and only after the PC showed interest and started investigating, would the GM randomly determine how true it was? Some could be related, and if one true false, then the other must be true false true. Just an idea if improv GMs want more tools to keep on their toes. Thoughts, discussion? Mike from MI. MI, of course, being maybe incorrect. So I kind of
That's him. He wrote that, not you.
Yeah, that's him, yes. So I wanted to kind of talk about this from the perspective of the GM improvisation and situations where the party is showing interest. I've talked about this in the vampire game. I had this old woman that owned a bar.
Yep.
So I'm going to retell the story again because we always have people
pertinent.
listening. There was an old woman who owned the bar on the island where the party was, and it made a newspaper. And there's this little. It's an ad. It wasn't even a story. It was just a little ad, I think. And they looked at that and they're like, she's in her late 60s. She's too old to own a bar. She must be a vampire, right? And I thought, I don't know, I'm going to make her a vampire. But I ended up making her a mage during the course of the game. And that all came up because the party dove in on this one thing. And so I said, well, I'm going to make that interesting for them. So
And to be fair, there's a backstory behind that backstory.
Yeah, bear.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
And I remember when Tim latched onto this, I'm like, no, man, he was just filling up space in his newspaper. We've been through this before. Don't go there. no, I'm going to do this. And then Stu's like, and I could see it on Stu, and he's like, okay, great, now I got to come up with a backstory. But to his credit, because he says the bear will never, ever happen again. And the takeaway from the bear
was a mistake on my part.
That's where I was going with that.
I should have either figured out, because there again, I made a little fake newspaper, and one of the articles was about someone had been attacked by a bear. And I was literally just trying to fill up about 3 column inches of space on the sheet.
On a prop.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what they decided to go after. So they, instead of going after, the secret underground Nazi base in the middle of the Arizona desert where the giant dirigibles are being built.
It was clearly obvious.
And that's,
nobody would go, why would you go there?
Well, no,
it was a bear attack.
No, it didn't actually say that in the article.
We thought it was mutated bears, so like Wolfenstein bears.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people with German last names.
Just saying.
And it did take place in the 1930s.
Yeah.
But the party decided to go after that, and they went bear hunting instead. And it took most of the night to do that. And I could have integrated it in. Maybe it's a Nazi in a bear costume. It could have been anything. But
so you didn't actually do anything with the bear hunting?
They shot the shit out of that bear.
Well,
they killed it.
Okay,
and then discovered that it was
one little caveat here. It was our very first time playing Savage Worlds.
Yes.
We were breaking in the system, and I decided let's combat, let's stress this thing. It's not why we went after the bear, but the bear's coming at us, and so then we rolled, and I got my shots, and we all went, now we know how it works. Okay, cool. But the takeaway was, I'm never doing this bear again. You guys went after the
I think you guys thought that was the clue. Yeah. That's what I remember the story being.
Yeah.
So totally
because people died.
Totally to Mike's point, you put stuff out there, and you either have to prepare for it, or be willing to have that become a thing.
Oh yeah.
And then how do you decide? Is this, I think that's what he's asking. Does this thing become a thing, or the whole false then true, or true then false,
or like a red herring? Or,
yes.
Well, and I just recently had this experience. I've talked about it on the podcast before, but I was running 5th edition for some people who hadn't really played before, and there was one player who had played before. And this was my first time, and I was running 5th edition. It was my first time running a module. So, always had done my own stories before then.
It's always so much reading.
Oh, yeah. It is, but that's easier than doing so much, like flipping through the monster
For sure.
Sorry,
but it's hard to figure out what to read and what not to read, and then how to make those boxes of text your own.
That's exactly the problem that I had. So I would read these boxes of text, and there, the guy who had played before, he goes, "Oh, there's a description of that door, and it sounds really detailed, so that's probably the important one."
Yeah.
And
it's called metagaming.
Right. Yeah. And I'm reading through what happens in that room. I'm like, that's not important. but I'm like, do I tell them that? And but I think there is a lot of that kind of metagaming where, especially in more traditional games, the players are like, oh, the GM made a description of this, therefore it must be an important deal. And it sounds like that's what the bear was, But for me in like I usually GM PBTA, and because it's all improv and it's zero preparation by the GM for the most part, I treat all rumors as they're all true, and then the one that the players follow up on, that's the important one.
Right.
So, all of this is true. All of it could happen. But that one that you guys are like, oh, that's what's going on. Like in the bear situation, I've been like, oh, well, as you're hunting that bear, you stumble across a cavern and you see some Nazis in uniform,
Right.
Just
you
because
see a mind control helmet on the bear. It's apparently been used to
exactly, yeah.
It has a swastika.
It's a swastika brand into it, yeah. And that's just because like that style of gaming just constantly leads me to okay, I'm not going to. Because you don't prepare the same way you do for other games. You just kind of go.
Though, as part of a hard move, reserve the right to misdirect, because they would get wrong information that would send them away from. I
wouldn't.
Okay.
When I GM PBTA, I do not. I intentionally do not misdirect, and this is just my style. Other people might, and I think
that would
could
be
be
an
valid.
acceptable hard move if you're doing research or you're doing investigate or whatever in whatever system you're playing.
Right. Yeah.
That could be the result of that.
Well, we had Interpol X, one of our first sessions. They all went into this private museum, and all 4 players rolled investigate a mystery, and all 4 failed. And like the first one failed, and then the second person was like, "Okay, I'm going to do it." Before I could even make the first hard move, everybody was rolling, and so I'm like, "Okay."
Well, I'll make a perception check. I'll make a perception check.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, okay, now I have 4 hard moves because every single person failed, and
they know they failed.
They know they failed.
And you don't have to do hard moves right away. Right?
No, you don't, and that's what I did, and we had some discussion on the forum about it because some people were like, "Well, that's not what I would have done," or I think it was inappropriate to, or it wasn't the best idea to do this because of that, or whatever. And and I'm like, there's some discussion here.
Oh, for sure.
Because it was one of those situations that got out of my control. I'm like, what do I do? But what I ended up making it happen was one person got slightly incorrect information, misdirection, but that misdirection is what led them to the actual perpetrators or the actual problem.
It just might have been more challenging or difficult.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
with something like Powered by the Apocalypse, which is so organic and such a collaborative effort, like something like giving clues can be kind of a tripping point because it's like, well, what is it you want to know?
Right.
Your mechanic says that you did well, so you tell me what it is you've learned from this clue.
Yeah.
Right. Or something to that extent, right? It can be real mushy.
Yeah.
It kind of gets rid of the whole mystery of, am I getting a right clue or a wrong clue?
Right, yeah.
It doesn't have to, though.
No, it doesn't.
No.
But
I mean,
but I don't want to pick on Powered by the Apocalypse, but my point being that it is interesting if you get misdirecting things and you don't know it.
Yeah.
Well, that's I think that's one of the reasons that you don't have to do hard moves immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do it a scene or two later.
Right, yeah.
And the party
absolutely.
doesn't even know that that's the result of the hard
But
move.
they know they failed their role.
100%.
Right.
So and to me,
No,
like,
but you don't know when it's going to come up necessarily, unless somebody always has the habit of pulling their hard move right away.
well, and to me, part of the fun of not misdirecting them is that they make a roll. They know they failed, and I say, "Oh yeah, it's that guy in the corner. That's clearly the guy who killed everybody." And they instantly are like, "Well, we know that's wrong." And
However,
and my favorite thing is going, "No, it actually was that guy."
So
now
here's,
he's getting
here's
away.
the thing that keeps coming to head, and we don't even know what we're doing, but we've been conditioned with these games, right? You know that you failed your role, and you know that there's a hard move coming up. So at some point, you're going to get the carpet pulled out from underneath you. Experienced players just kind of accept that, and we say we're not metagaming, and yet we still know we failed that role, and it's going to come back to haunt us. A brand new player is dropping that game and is going, "Well, how did you? What?" And they are. It's not that they're mystified by the rules per se, but they are still thinking, but I want to find out what the clues are.
Well, and part of it, we talked about this, I don't know, last time I was on, so like a month and a half ago or so, with respect to something else, but I'm not going to always be right as a player.
Right.
So just because we decide amongst ourselves that we're going to pursue path A instead of B or C, it doesn't mean it's the right path. So I think that's part of what gets to Mike's question too, is like, how do you decide whether that's going to lead them in the right direction, or whether it's going to be a total red herring or a wrong thing, or whether it leads to another thing that leads to the thing.
Yeah. My criteria for that is how interesting their theory is about this thing.
Yeah, that's a great.
No, that's fair.
With the old woman owning the bar, he's like, no, there's something about her. There's something about her, and and I had done my pre-prep for the game, so I had my cast of NPCs because it's vampire. You got everyone.
And you prep a lot, right? Yeah, because that's one of your
pre-prep.
Up front, yes. Up front, yes.
Yep.
And so I had, but she had just been a bar owner, and I'm like, that would be interesting if she was like a mage who's hiding out on this island, or monitoring what's going on the island for her,
somebody else.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, that's an interesting idea. I'm going to make him right.
Yeah.
And so he sneaks in to her house, and God, there was like a 5 or 6 session arc involving a book he stole from there, and which was all improv.
Yeah,
it actually turned out to be a very important part of the
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah. I mean, and I integrated that into the storyline that I had been working on, which was the storyline about Sebastian and his brother, your guys' lord at the time, and how this book ended up. Once they discovered its existence, suddenly that book became very important to them. So suddenly, I generated this MacGuffin that I just pulled out of my ass. That suddenly now is the central.
It turns out the moat now is just a convergence of ley lines and has been important throughout prehistoric history.
Yeah. Well, sure.
Yeah.
But
go ahead. I think that to me, like, this is if you have a good GM, or even like a GM who's just trying to be good. Like, this is because all
GMs are trying to be good.
Well, yes,
True.
yeah.
Some of them don't know the definition of good.
Yes, true. Yeah,
Maybe.
But some,
their definition is different.
Some GMs may not be good yet, but they're at least moving in this direction.
Right.
But I think that's a good GM sign is if you're playing and your player sees on this thing that you had planned on being irrelevant, to go back and look at that and say, okay, well, maybe this is what my players want, so let's play with that and come up with a way to work it into.
Have it relate.
Yeah. And so, I think it's great as a GM to be able to do that, to listen to what your players are finding interesting and tailor around.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate then.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, when we did Mission Imbartable, we came up with a list of truths and falses. Mission Imbartable was a 5e game where everybody was a bard, basically playing Mission Impossible as bards in the fantasy world.
It's so amazing.
It really was. It actually worked out. I was really surprised. It would make a great campaign. All that being said, we came up with falsehoods and stuff, and then we would roll to see if they succeeded, and we handed them a clue. And they didn't know. But ostensibly what they would do is they would put together what they knew and what they didn't know, and some of the lies were just outlandish, but others were maybe close to the truth. The point is that that was like a little meta game in and of itself, a little mini game in and of itself, trying to figure out what the rumors were, because these people went through, just like you would do with MIs, do a little recon first and find out what they know about the castle. And it's kind of robbing your players if they don't actually get to figure some of this stuff out. It's like in Clue, if they find the lead pipe and Colonel Mustard in the library, and that's actually what it is, you don't go through the rest of that stuff, eliminating the other possibilities. You've just made it.
No,
you just went directly to Colonel Mustard in the.
I don't think
library.
anybody's saying like you get the RP story lollipop just because you decide to go to a place. I don't think that's what anybody was saying, but I think what it relates exactly to what you're saying, Stork, which is that, maybe it is a total dead end, but look at something like Mission Impossible or some sort of other, espionage type of movie or television show. And it's like even if somebody gets a total dead end or they're sent on a total dead end, they end up either meeting somebody they're supposed to meet or meeting somebody that's got a common interest, or there is something that's tangentially.
You still want to advance the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also part of the investigative process.
Without giving somebody a cookie.
Even Sam Spade would follow what seemed like a irrelevant clue, and at the end would find a matchbook, and that would lead him off in that direction. But the point is that you're robbing the people of this experience of crossing checks off their investigative list by just making it right the first time. Not that I'm glossing over it. I am idealizing the situation, but the thing is, it is interesting if they're wrong.
Yeah,
sure.
No, absolutely, because we talked about that. I think we were discussing the hero's journey and how the dice can kind of inform.
Yeah.
Because the hero's journey isn't always like win, 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 win.
Oh, no.
There's always so what you're saying is that there have to be those moments where there's not success.
Absolutely.
But
especially in investigation.
I do think if they pursue something, though, like hard, and they invest time in it, you want to have a kernel of something. But I don't like to be given the, like, everything I do is always right either.
Yeah.
So I don't want, like what you're saying, it's like, oh, because you guys decided to go that way, it's 100%.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be right.
Yes.
But make
There's
it interesting.
Something interesting.
I mean,
there.
the whole thing with the woman who owned the bar, that was not it became part of the plot.
Yep.
But that wasn't the plot.
Yep.
Right.
That was just, who is this? This is something I'm going to go investigate. And I just you find this book.
Yeah.
It's in Aramaic. You can't read it. You're going to have to go have it translated.
Yep.
And it became sort of a side thing.
Yeah.
And I integrated it into what the main story was. But I think it's important, especially if you're investing a bunch of table time in something, rather than just going out and ending it with a dead bear.
Yeah.
Have it brings now that was obviously that was
like,
a one shot as well.
You just spent an entire session doing.
Right.
It might have been fun, but it had nothing to do with anything.
Well,
Right.
and this is one of the reasons that I don't like those situations, and I do try to give the players a lot of right direction, is because like one of my horror stories, my RP horror stories, I was a player, but we spent several sessions pursuing what we thought was the correct bad guy. And and then like the GM just let us go on and on thinking that this was important. And 3 sessions later, we catch the guy and we're like, haha, we've caught the changeling who was destroying magic. And he's like, yeah, he's actually not a changeling, and
he's just
has
an
nothing to
accountant
do.
from Pacoima.
It was the Wonder
Exactly.
Woman moment.
Yeah,
The Wonder Woman moment.
right.
Spoilers.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, it actually had nothing to do with the actual story. He was just tooling us along.
And that's the GM letting you waste 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Or not. He's giving you XP. He's giving you a chance to get items, depending on the system you're playing. He's giving you a chance for bonding and stuff, so that you get up enough levels that you can take on the big
Except
bad.
we were all so mad at him, we all quit the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So,
No, I would be too. Like, if there wasn't any opportunity pushed my way to be like,
Yeah, if you're going to have
there should have been a hint at some point that, oh, maybe you're wrong. But he was, he like reinforced the idea that, oh yeah, we're on the right track. Yep, keep going.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I fooled them with my red herring.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, and I think it goes back to that paradigm of the GM versus the PCs, which I can't stand.
I'm fooling them.
Yeah, exactly. I win, haha, because I fooled you or I killed you, and it's just like I don't like that type of playing. If that's what people want, go for it. But
I
just don't
generally,
invite me.
especially after the bear, I generally agree that false rumors or red herrings are something to generally be avoided. The times I can think off the top of my head when I would use them is if the bad guy or maybe the bad guy's henchman is someone the party knows and trusts, and maybe he's trying to misdirect them.
Yeah.
But I would make those red herrings or those false clues and the follow-up on them brief.
Yeah.
I would not end up spending hours and hours on
And in all fairness to any GM, you aren't necessarily trying to produce a red herring. It just, if you are accidentally overly descriptive about the picture of the woman on the wall, do you remember that story?
Sure.
And
or if you've got 3 or
the
4
witch
column
is in
inches
love with
to fill.
her. You know, it's
yeah.
no, it's players. I mean,
You
we
end up with Icelandic troll hunter.
Yeah.
Right.
It depends on where our brains are and what we think is like. I don't know what has the green aura.
But if they do
around
go down the wrong path,
Yeah.
let them go a little bit.
Yeah.
And then start dropping clues that where they're going isn't leading anywhere.
Yeah.
This is
You need to be careful with your red herrings. You really, really do. I mean, like in Mission Imbartable, they had a mission that they had to accomplish. It was within a parameter. It's like, you need to go and kill this guy, or you need to get the prince out. That was it. However you want to do it is fine. So they did a little recon, and we had things, but that didn't undermine the fact they still had to get the prince out.
Yeah.
They had all these rumors, and if it would influence how they wanted to infiltrate, but it didn't affect the overall mission.
With that rumor gathering, was that basically intel for the op?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It's like some of your information isn't going to be accurate.
Exactly.
So you're going to go in, there's only going to be 1 guard at this door. Wait, there's 4 guards at this door.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
That would
that
be
kind
an
of stuff is fun.
awesome one shot too. The red herring job, where just like there's clues left every time there's a job, but it's like, is this actually legit?
Yeah.
This
The cake
clue?
is a lie.
Or, yeah.
Well, and also, I think, like Stork was saying, those kinds of investigative stories, they're much more about, like, that's part of the fun of it, is figuring out what's true and what's false. And it's very different than if you're playing a story game.
When you get red herrings, specifically, I'm thinking of investigative. I really don't think of them in anything else.
Right. Like if I'm playing Shadowrun and they're like, go accomplish this op.
There's almost investigative stuff in everything, even social games.
Oh, absolutely,
Or or if even like D&D, you tell me, okay, there's this specific thing that you guys are supposed to go do, and then all these rumors are spread out in front of me. I'm like, okay, well, this might be cool, and this might help us, and this sounds like a total distraction, and so we can pick and choose which direction we're going to go, but we know that eventually we have to go fight the demon lord.
Right. And a good GM is also, if they have some foresight, might even be able to set up the next adventure by this bartender over at this place that we went to told us X and it was actually Y. And then he also told us this other thing that ended up not being true. Who is this guy and who does he work for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you might end up having some kind of and they may go in and just kill him, or they may try to figure out if he's working against them.
For some reason, originally I thought you said bartender, and I was like, "That's awesome."
I was going to say bartender.
That's a bird.
Now I stumbled.
Now, if your players don't have a mission to accomplish, if they're not given a parameter like you need to go rescue the prince, if it's like something bad is going on in this village, go find out what it is. If it's really open ended like that, red herrings and stuff can be a bit. They could get in your way. I think it's Gumshoe had that rule of 3. Right?
No. Rule of 3 is from Alexandrian.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Alexandrian.net. That's that webpage.
Okay.
That's the rule of 3 is...
Go ahead with the rule of 3, then.
If you want to have if the party needs to find a clue, put it in 3 different places. Make it exist.
Okay.
If it's going to point them if they need to go from scene A to scene B, give them... 3 may not even be
3 chances.
Give them as many chances as you need to let that
They
happen.
just killed the guy that was going to tell them, so there's a note in a drawer.
Right,
exactly.
And that's what I would do with Monster of the Week on Interpol X, is like there's a clue, and I have a list of my prep. These are the NPCs or the places that might have that clue.
Right.
If the characters actually don't go anywhere near those places and they follow some other path instead, like those NPC names become the people who are in that spot, and the clue becomes in that spot instead of the other spot.
There's nothing worse from a player's point of view from flailing around in the darkness, trying to find
for
what
hours
the GM
and hours
is an
hours,
obvious thing.
Pixel hunting.
It's
not so bad if you have 64 pixels.
Right, exactly.
But when you're 4K.
Speaking of pixels, I finally saw Ready Player One.
Yes.
I
saw it.
Very fun movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay.
Agreed.
I felt a little robbed.
I'm scared of it.
Well,
so
we know a little
how
robbed.
come you're robbed?
No, and this is what.
I love you, Rob.
I fucking hate Skechers.
Rob's adorable.
Oh my god! I heard his rant on
gnome.
Skechers. It was like,
oh, he said a whole thing. Yeah. He's an angry little man.
Yeah.
And bikers, and I forget that.
Sorry, he's an angry little person. But
you felt robbed.
You
I felt robbed when I read the book or listened to the book. Because I listened to the Will Wheaton reading.
Oh, nice.
It was a walk down memory lane for 1970s and 80s nerd culture.
Yeah. Man, you're old.
Right? And I'm like, all this stuff, and I'm Googling shit, and like, oh, I remember that. And I'm going, yeah, I remember watching this show.
You're so
holy shit,
to Google it
that's
to
crap.
remind you?
Well, yeah. Well, like Johnny Sacco and this giant robot. I'm like, is that the kid with the watch? I think that's the kid with the watch. And I go, and I'm going, and the whole book to me, it's just like, put these like rose-colored lenses on my childhood, and it was just
it's the
wonderful.
Coppola filmed in gold.
Yes.
Gold tones.
And it was
you're
wonderful.
Like,
It was a wonderful experience. Now, a lot of people have a lot of problems with the book. They didn't think the story was interesting, didn't like the characters, whatever.
Well, clearly they weren't born in the 70s and 80s, right? Because
that's not what I loved about the book. That's not what I loved about the book was the walk down memory lane and this total love letter to nerd culture in the 70s and 80s. And it's like...
I don't think that's what I saw in the trailer.
Okay, now I'm talking about the book.
Okay, yeah. No, but like I'm... Okay, robbed.
In the film, it's a love letter to film nerds in the 70s and 80s.
And 90s. Because Iron Giant's in there.
I might like that.
D&D
Spoilers, it was in the trailer.
I saw that.
Iron Giant is everywhere.
Okay.
in that
But he
film.
was not in the 80s.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But D&D, one reference that I recall.
Really?
It's a picture on a van, and it's the demon head with the sphere of annihilation from Tomb of Horrors. It's the illustration on the back of the van on one of the doors.
Depressing.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
They knew that
There's
was
not-
you were not their target audience.
There's not a bunch of video game references, especially video game references. The joust. I mean, all of the challenges to find the keys. First off, they had to condense it because it's a film.
Right.
And I've kind of come to the conclusion that film is not a good medium for telling an intricate story.
I agree.
It's
Thank
too
you
short.
for saying so.
It's too short.
Thank you, Golden
Unless
Age of
it's
Television.
a miniseries.
Thank
or
you, Netflix and Jessica
Especially
Jones.
right?
now that
Yeah,
you've got it's like here's
Jessica
12
Jones
episodes
movie.
of something. Watch it.
Wouldn't work.
Watch an intricate story. I love
You
that.
get to see, and Westworld, another great example, Battlestar
Yeah.
Galactica.
Yeah.
You get to tell that
Right.
long
Doing the
form story.
miniseries.
Oh, second season of The Handmaid's Tale they dropped 2 episodes of it, and the rest of it's coming out in May.
Speaking of Scourd,
Oh,
I'm gonna have to have more of
Scared
these
of
on
that.
stocks here. Can you hand me
it's
one
a
of those?
little easier to watch than the first season.
It
At least the
is.
first 2
Okay.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But-
But anyway,
yeah.
I was watching and fun movie.
Yeah.
Really fun movie.
Yeah.
Spielberg doing what Spielberg does best,
Yeah.
and it was
Wow.
really
Okay.
good.
And
I really liked it.
I have to
but
say-
I felt a
yeah.
little robbed.
I have to say, so I watched it and I loved it. I had a great time. It was so much fun. I have a huge crush on Percival's avatar because that was just like
Oh.
the pinnacle of hot cartoon. Like,
Right.
oh my god. I'm pansexual now just because I want a cartoon boyfriend.
No, your pants on sexual.
And then I've apparently always been pansexual.
That's got to be a thing now.
That's why I'm here.
I'm
Pansexual.
pansexual.
Dabbling in watercolors. It's Roger Rabbit. Are we dabbling in watercolors now, are we?
That's fantastic.
Oh my god! Yeah, because
Yeah.
he finally knocked Aladdin off my hot spot. Yeah, like that was. Damn it! Sorry. My
It's see, and you don't even have my.
Exactly.
I'm always like chest
You're
popping
just
my
standing
mic.
on it. That's
You
why.
keep putting it on your zipper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. Okay. Yeah.
You gotta knot them. Like
There we go.
There you
this
go.
one.
I actually
Yeah, I'm always like pulling them with my knee and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so I kind of had that same experience where I went in and I watched it and I loved it. I had a great time, but I did walk away feeling like just wasn't quite as awesome as it could have been. And now that you're talking about that I think is the thing that I was missing, is that it was referencing film nerd culture, not nerd culture.
See, I
really
would
was.
totally dig that, but was it actually referencing 70s and 80s film nerd culture, or
A
was
lot
it,
of it, yes.
or was it for okay?
A lot of it.
See, I would like
and
that
the music,
too.
I mean, most of the music is all 80s music.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
now I kind of want to see it. The trailer was horrible for me.
Mostly 70s and 80s. There is some 90s stuff, but actually that is okay to me.
Whoa!
That was the dogs.
Yeah,
It's
your
a
dogs
weird
The
dog.
dogs are fighting.
Oh, okay.
Holy
But
crap!
I looked at Stu earlier. I'm like, because there's noise and it's.
I can't hear it because the noise protection.
Even the
They
90s,
chucked themselves at the building.
Yeah.
they body slammed the wall.
Maybe Baloo finally had enough.
Yeah. But the
me a
90s
minute.
stuff I didn't mind so much because it does take place several years in the future. So it's
it
okay
takes
that
place in
would've
like
been-
2040 or
yeah,
something.
Exactly, yeah. So that was okay.
Okay.
I was really upset being from Oklahoma. It was really
That it's
awesome
not in
to
Oklahoma,
me. Yeah.
right?
It was awesome to
Uh-oh.
me that like it was set in Oklahoma in the book, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so exciting for me. And then they're
So you
like,
have one
no,
dog.
it's Columbus, Ohio. And
Well,
I'm like,
Ohio is where they end up
yes,
because they end up
exactly, yeah.
having to travel there.
Right, yeah. And they just start the whole thing in Ohio.
I did like the fact that the characters who are represented in
Yeah.
a certain way in the virtual world, the Oasis,
Yes.
are different than
Yeah.
the actual real people, and they kept that the same, and I lauded them
Yeah,
for that. Because
yeah,
I was
I-
kind of worried because
Right.
Hollywood loves to whitewash.
Exactly, yeah. But I liked it, and I liked their representation. I loved the stuff they did in Oasis. It was exciting and fun. But yeah, I wanted a little more 8-bit action, you know?
Right.
And
Although they still had the adventure.
yes, which was great. Yeah.
It's
they
like,
had,
and I got to take my kids to see it.
yeah.
Because I want them to see what video games were like.
Oh, right.
I want them to see adventure and go,
What?
That's a dungeon? Is that Dot's a dude?
and that's kind of my thing. It's like I have no interest in this movie. I never read the book, but I mean, I grew up with the original Tron, and I grew up with Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing. Roger Rabbit to me succeeded, I think, and from everything you're saying, more than this did. And Roger Rabbit specifically just was about all those cartoons that from the 50s, 60s.
Right.
And I think if you get too broad of a genre, it just doesn't.
But it
and as you say, it was film culture, not geek culture, and maybe that was a wise choice on their part because it makes it more accessible.
Yeah,
I know why he did it.
Yeah.
Because if he had kept it with the sometimes very obscure references.
Oh yeah.
In the book.
You're about to be eaten by Gru?
It wouldn't. Well, yeah. They have to play out Zork at one point.
Yeah.
They have to play out the Tomb of Horrors at one point.
And the asteroids.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and as you're talking about it, though, I'm thinking about, like, look who directed it then.
But they also want to get more than maybe 20% of the people excited to come see it.
That's the thing.
But that's, I mean, is it yet that the Gen Z, Gen Y, they outnumber us? Or is that like in a couple of years when we get trampled by
outnumber us
the living tweens?
It's a couple of years away, but it's,
no,
it's coming.
So
don't know the name yet.
That's who they're going to make films
tweens,
for.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that made the movie okay for me was all of the decisions that they made, all the changes that they made. I could understand why they needed to make them for the genre switch.
Sure.
And so I was able to forgive them and enjoy the movie for what it is.
I did too. I liked it. I thought, and I would go see it again.
It's also
I
a
would
licensing
totally go see it
nightmare.
again.
Oh God, yeah. Oh,
And the
Even
fact,
as it was.
and
they had
also
a whole team of people just working on clearance.
Spielberg probably owned most of the licensing for much of the
Well,
stuff
and
you
then-
saw in there anyway.
That's the thing. I mean,
Which makes it way cheaper to make.
if it was
Yeah.
through Universal or whatever with Vivendi and everything attached, they were
And
able
you
to
know
use
what?
Iron Giant for free.
Who knows?
Yeah.
They may have gone to one of these, to WotC or something, or whoever owns the IP. They own the IP for Tomb
D&D.
of Horrors.
Yeah.
But they may have gone to them, and they may have just been flashing dollar signs in their eyes, and they're going,
There's a reason it was a big deal that Spider-Man showed up in the Avengers movies because he's owned by a studio.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the logistics of all of that, and who gets paid what, and how much time you can have, and who owns the rights.
Yeah.
It is an intellectual right that somebody owns, which we're all in favor of. And then how do you adjudicate that?
I have
It
relatives
gets
that work
really
in
difficult.
IP licenses.
Yes.
So and it's a complicated thing.
It's super
and
complicated,
expensive.
You know, as a costumer, like a lot of times, I have to do what's called Greeking, and you know, and I'm sure you've done this too.
I've had to help you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Greeking is when you make it look, it's all Greek to me. But you have to take logos and you have to change them in some way so that they're not an exact logo. So, you know, I put a little crosshatch or a circle at the end of a Nike swoosh, or you know, or like you know, if it says Valcom and I fill it out so it says Eracom or something.
And now we're giving Valcom like free.
Oh no, sorry.
A Sharpie goes a long way.
Sharp.
But for the other 20% that they can't do, they bring it to the paint department. It's like, this
That's
has
awesome.
a logo all over it. Make it go away. And we're like,
I can paint it black.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I just like make, if you see, like, if you're watching TV especially, but also film, and you see this item of clothing and it's got this big black square on the breast pocket.
Behind the scenes here.
Behind the scenes. That's somebody blocking out what the actual emblem was.
My favorite is the Inside Out T-shirt.
Oh,
Let me
I'm always
ask you,
like, cool.
do they do that because they don't want to give away product placement, or do they do that because they think they might have a problem with the people who own the trademark?
Yes, both.
Oh, it is both. Okay.
It is both. If they can get product placement, they will usually do it. But like I've worked on some shows, like I did a show for Amazon last summer, and they like everything had to go through them, the slightest little thing. So you know, we would buy T-shirts readily available at Target with some random abstract logo on it, and we had to send them a picture and say, "Can you get this cleared? Here's the company." We're like, "We want to use this."
Oh, they got deep
that's
pockets,
local.
and people love to see people.
Exactly,
deep pockets,
and that's why a lot of it doesn't make the screen, is because the companies ask for a lot of money, and then the producers are like, "No, pick something else, or hide it."
I was on a sitcom. I don't want to name the name or whatever. It was a very well thought out sitcom, but the set deck guy or set deck woman had been nailed before, so she was very paranoid. So they had rented these paintings that they used in the background of the person's living room.
Yeah.
And she was very scared that somebody would want money for it. So we went back and recreated them and changed them enough so that we owned them now. So it was completely up. Now this is there's entire places where you just rent stuff that's cleared. It's called cleared. It's just been bought for whatever reason, and you can use it wherever you want. But she was extra careful, and we had to recreate the ones because this is second season. They had to look similar, but it couldn't be the same because she didn't want to get sued.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it gets to that point.
Oh, she got sued in the first season, or they had a problem in the first
She got
season?
nailed on some other show a while ago for something that ended up in the background on somebody's wall that wasn't cleared, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Sure.
And ultimately, it's about
crazy.
you don't want to because it's not, she didn't. No money came out of her pocket, but she heard about it from the production company, and they're not very forgiving.
Right.
Second season, Tangent, Glow, in June.
Oh my god!
I know,
Glow
right? And we're probably going to play Worldwide Wrestling on ShadowCon.
I have never,
in June.
I've never
I'm
cried
hoping.
in a professional wrestling thing ever. Oh my god! And I saw it.
It's so good.
You haven't?
It's so good.
Oh my god! It's so good.
It's been on my radar. I know I need to watch it.
Yeah.
I watched it. We made a trip to the West Coast Mecca, Las Vegas,
Right?
because they were filming it in a it was like a shutdown Zodi's or something.
Oh,
Which I think is probably going to happen in the second season. And we went there, and
It might have happened at the end of the first.
It might have happened.
Yeah.
But it's in Vegas. This all took place in. But they're changing stuff anyway.
Yeah.
It was way off the strip. We had to take a.
I didn't know you went out there for
No,
that. If I'd known, I would
Yeah.
have
We
gone on
didn't-
set.
That's not. No, this is. I was 21.
Yeah.
This is in the 80s.
Oh, this is the actual.
Stu had hair.
I saw
Not
Gorgeous
the show.
Ladies of
Not
Wrestling.
for Glow, it
I
was
saw
the
Gorgeous
original.
because it had been on TV for a season or two, maybe. And my 21st birthday had come up, and we went to Vegas, and me and Eric Aldrich, who Strategicon, hauled ass all the way out to the frickin' Toolies in Vegas, way off the strip. We were probably 8 or 10 miles off the strip. And here's, it's either a Zodi's or a Two Guys or some old department store. And I'm talking fucking tumbleweeds everywhere, grass growing up through the.
Joe Pesci's body in a shallow grave.
And there's this big van and a generator next to it, and a bunch of cables going inside this what looks like an abandoned building.
Yeah.
And we go inside, and we had these tickets because you had to like right ahead to get tickets for this thing. And we came in, and inside they had built this studio, and we got to watch. I don't know, probably.
Was it Did you see Chainsaw?
No, I don't remember. Well, see, even like Queen Kong, what they call it, they had a different name. Queen Kong is her other name when she's not on Glow.
I have a picture of her. She was Amazon. Okay. Oh, wait,
why can't I remember?
You know what I'm talking about.
She's in a wheelchair now, but
yes, redhead,
big woman.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went in and we sat down, and the audiences. There couldn't have been more than 50 people. In the audience. But the way it was shot, it looks like there's a bunch of people there. It's awesome. And we sat and we watched it, and they had a stand where they sold beer and hot dogs and pretzels and stuff, and it was so much fun. And then we had to come back, and it's like, oh shit, we got tickets for a show, and we called a cab, and we spent $9 because he slowed down at a yellow light, and we sat at a red light because it's Vegas, right?
Yeah.
But we went and saw it.
That's awesome.
I hate to break this to you here, but people are rage quitting right now and table flipping. So we haven't
Sorry.
answered one email.
Sorry. All right.
No,
So anyway, I think
love this shit.
we've explored his question.
Yeah.
Literally, because we ended up in Vegas.
did.
And
That's
it's
right.
wrestling.
Yeah.
All right.
Wrestling and Greeking.
Okay.
Who played what?
Oh, this starts.
Who played
here.
what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anyone play anything? I didn't play that.
Monster
I played
Hearts.
Bazooki.
Monster Hearts. Yes, we had session
Oh my
0
God.
over Monster Hearts game.
You had a long
Jeffrey
session
High.
0.
It was a long session
Yes.
0. Yeah.
We did.
You and Tappy in the same room. That's going to be a lot of tangents.
We gotta go. I told Kimmy the seating arrangements she had were intuitively correct. I'm looking
Yes.
at the camera. I know.
Yes.
I'm gonna fix
Adam and
it.
Abria, like across
I'm gonna
the way.
fix it.
Your new best friend.
Oh my God! The Adam and Abria show on Demigods is just—it's off of the charts.
Yeah.
Bria is funny.
Oh my God!
She was a comedian.
Yeah, yeah. We are bonded. Like we. Oh yeah. Speaking of off the charts, the other thing that we played was the Fantasy Age one shot last Saturday.
Yep.
That Jib ran. Me and Gina and Abria and
Yeah.
Talene. You want to talk about tangents and off the chart? Like,
Yeah.
Jib was just like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I love that Talene started out with one little. Apparently, it's a Hispanic theme. She started with one sort of cheech mustache, and at one point she had two, and then it just got further and further away.
It wouldn't stay on her face.
As the thing went away.
Yeah.
That's got to be uncomfortable. I watched a little bit of the Is it Cortex?
Yeah.
That's I watched a little tiny bit of that.
Yeah, I didn't get to play that one.
Yeah, so there was a telenovela Cortex homebrew that was Noche del Fuego.
Noches del Fuego.
Yes. We had Pato players, Hugo de Pato.
Talene, by the way, great GM.
Yeah.
Oh, she was a lot of fun.
I've only played with her as a player. Right?
I would like to meet her.
And
She's
we
been to
were
my house.
Crazy.
And I don't know who she is.
Yeah, Crazy Pants Silly. And then we played Fantasy Age, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That stunt mechanic is fantastic. It's Dragon Age. Yeah.
I liked
you should be
that
unemployed
system
more
a lot.
often.
I know, right? Yeah, it's
Look at all
great.
this gaming you're catching
Yeah,
up on.
I did 3 Happy Jacks games this weekend. I did the Cortex on Saturday. I did Demigods on Sunday, and then Monster Hearts on Monday.
Oh
wow!
Yeah, so I've been here a lot this week, more than you, I think.
Yep.
Probably, yes. Especially on weekends.
But excited for the first session of Monster Hearts. We were a little giddy in the session 0, so there was some crosstalk. So apologies everyone.
That.
Yeah, I was like crosstalk.
There's a lot of drinking.
I don't give a
lot of
fuck.
shouting.
Yeah.
Kimmy messaged us later, and she's like, "Hey, just be aware, lots of crosstalk."
I believe I said it on mic.
Yeah,
and I was told whatever.
Gina multiple times was like, crosstalk, guys, crosstalk, and we're all like, blah blah.
Usually tangents are okay, but when more than one person's talking,
you can't hear anything.
The audience can't understand.
Yeah. And there was
We've already broken that rule.
There was that.
Totally.
Well, you're gonna have to bend the rules around them.
No, it'll be fine. Session 1. It was session 0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Metagaming.
but lots of fun stuff.
This last weekend, I played a lot of Bouzouki.
Nice.
Yeah. Our new CD is out.
You were LARPing.
Atlas Chugged.
Yes.
And
there was this
at
weekend.
Fair. It's available at Fair, nowhere else yet. Came out last week.
Exciting.
Yes, that's what those boxes on you're all looking in my kitchen. What?
Is
2 walls from here.
Is Dave doing your
merch this weekend? Yes.
The Poxy Badger.
The Poxy Badger.
Yeah.
Kadave is doing our merch
with his dead badger hat.
I'm gonna try to make a sign for him to tape to the table because we have that merch table and all the CDs are stacked up. I want to make a sign that says, what is it? Physical media be dead. Prove me wrong. I would have painted on a piece of sailcloth
that would
tape
work.
it to the thing.
Yes.
And get a picture of him with a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Make that viral.
Definitely.
Love it.
But yeah, lots of really good stuff on the stream. You guys played Spaniard's Ghost 2, and we've had the last 2 sessions really good.
Yeah,
so
excellent.
check out the feed.
There's a lot of APs up. I can't keep up even.
Yeah.
I'm unemployed.
No one who has a job or friends can keep up with all of the
We realize
APs.
you have to pick and choose, though, but just tell your friends. There's flavors for everyone.
And they'll all be there. They'll all be there.
Yeah.
So if you
catch up during
if you can't listen to the 3 you want to, pick the
Making
2
that
you
road
want.
trip.
Right? Yeah.
Listen to a whole
You know what?
Yeah.
I had to take a trip up to Pismo Beach 10 years ago. It's like 10 years ago. Download podcast after podcast after podcast. Put it on my little iPod. I had the iPod.
The shuffle. The mini.
Nano.
That wide, that tall.
Nano.
No. It was an iPad.
Zune, it was the white one. It was the original
It was the
iPod.
Nano.
It wasn't the original one. It didn't have a hard
No,
drive.
but the
in it.
Nano is like that. The
Yes.
1 megabyte.
The
Nano.
Shuffle is the little tiny thing.
I
had the
Shuffle is
Nano.
tiny.
I had the Nano.
Okay. The Shuffle
and I
Pod.
filled that thing up with everything, and it made the entire trip so bearable.
Who doesn't do that anyway with their DVR? Like there are shows I don't watch right away, but then when it's like down season, I'm gonna freebase that.
Oh yeah.
Freebase.
Oh yeah.
It's inspirational.
It's what happens.
All right.
Okay.
Religion and faith in game.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Of course.
So, I hear you guys calling for emails more often. I think maybe some of our listeners should consider writing multiple emails
So instead
of multi-page.
We've talked about that.
Dude,
we've talked about
this
brevity.
is nothing.
Yeah,
this
really.
is nothing.
You meant Jib,
When
right?
Jib lived in the South and was writing in,
Yeah.
he holds the record. How many pages was it, Jib? 5? 11 pages. There you go.
That's crazy. Because I've seen some of them refer to, sorry for the jib level email, or here's another jib email for you.
Talk to Jibs about his story someday. It's a fascinating tale.
Wow, that's awesome.
But he also spun a ripping good yarn.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And always had
Cogent points.
Cogent points and questions. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Very cool.
Who wants to read the...
Shall I read it?
It's only a number 2
It's my penance for criticism.
Who's the most sober here? You got the reads. Can you read?
You know, I really do love Rye.
Yeah.
I know.
I knew I had to slow down during the Monster Hearts game because I started slurring. And I'm like...
When I have to... My nose is my...
It goes numb?
I'm like, my nose goes numb. I was like, oops.
Slurring is nature's way
Time
to
for
tell you
water.
to stop.
I always know to slow down when my brain goes numb.
Oh, there you go. There's a numb thing.
So I'm getting like muzzy-headed in the front right now.
Muzzy. So from Steven SoCal, Dearest Dev Douchebags, I started writing this email many moons ago while listening to the Bloodblade and Tusk AP, and am now finally completing my thoughts, haphazard as they are.
I want to run that again.
What are your feelings on using in-game faith as a tool for player character engagement and motivation? With the
See, he could have just ended right there.
I was going to say yes at the end.
It's not like we're not going to talk for 20 minutes about it anyway.
Yours, etc. Steven SoCal.
But with the understanding that you must first know your group and know what areas might be trigger words, do you tend to use this much or shy away from it? Obviously, sometimes it comes up, as with Gina's character in the aforementioned game, but I was curious all y'all's take. Thank you for using all y'all's properly. In my history with D&D and its offshoots, I profess to often playing religious characters. I like it because it gives some sort of built-in motivation/moral code to guide my play. Sometimes this means I'm a straight-laced cleric of Lathander out to destroy undead. Sometimes this means I'm a happy-go-lucky cleric of Timora who also wants to set up a trade network. Sometimes this means I'm a druid described loosely as a Greenpeace James Bond, which is awesome, or a brain-damaged soldier who now thinks he's a harbinger of Tyr. Aren't our harbingers of Tyr brain damage?
No.
On a related note, how do you deal with faith in fantasy worlds where deities are demonstrably real? That cleric walking around calling up light out of thin air seems to take away some of the mystery of religion. I suppose you can blur the lines between divine and arcane magic, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and examples from your past on this matter. As a point of gaming triumph, I'd like to relate a short story about how playing a character of faith led to my most visceral gaming memory. Excuse me. The previously mentioned Acolyte of Tyr was set up as a bandit who experienced a traumatic brain injury, after which he was convinced that he was actually a paladin of the god of justice. Nice. That being said, it was never entirely clear if he actually had any powers or just thought he did.
Is that really true of paladins too?
It's a good point.
And if you screw up...
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know.
He had also obtained, as part of his backstory, a sword which he believed to be a holy artifact. Throughout the campaign, he refused to use this supposedly powerful weapon until one final encounter where he was certain it was a just cause. As he struck down the guilty enemy, the baddie magically turned to stone and shattered the quote-unquote artifact. While this brief retelling I'm sure doesn't convey the emotion involved, I as a player got choked up at this event, and the character was nearly catatonic as he had to reassess his whole belief structure.
It's Don Quixote.
Yeah.
Right. Don Quixote was tilting at windmills and he was being told that he was a superhero from the gods.
Yeah.
And he was clearly psychotic and was inspirational. But yeah, it's Don Quixote.
Yeah, yeah. Now, to counterbalance that gaming triumph, I'll relate a tale of gaming horror wherein I, as a player, was, quote-unquote, that guy.
I've been that guy.
Yeah, we've done it. We've all done it. We were playing a particularly brutal and cutthroat D&D campaign centered around a powerful conspiracy of vampires and demons taking over a town. I was playing the party's cleric and effectively only caster. It may be worth mentioning that I inherited this character at about level 9 and at this point had played him up to a level 11, back to 10, back to 11 again, and back down to 10. There was a lot of partial party wipes and resurrections at lost levels. As the only caster and a cleric that was very specifically built with a focus on turn undead and other anti-necromancy powers, I thought to myself, awesome, I'll really be good in this campaign. Unfortunately, the GM was really invested in all his baddies, and effectively every vampire we encountered would have every feat imaginable to make them super resistant.
You know what? That's
immune.
the most polite sentence I've ever heard for saying the guy was a douchebag.
Yes.
The GM was really invested in his bad guys.
Very well said.
Right?
Very well said.
How kind of you.
Yes, generous even. This got to the point where after one session, I sat down and dragged up all the rule books and sent an email longer than this one, citing chapter and verse of where I thought the GM was cheating my character out of his rightful successes. I had become the dreaded rules lawyer.
I am become.
Frowny face. I didn't mean to and did it in the name of quote-unquote wanting to feel good at something or whatever the motivational catchphrase was that Tappy was citing in a recent episode, but I let the rules get in the way of trying to have a fluid game. That being said, what are your thoughts on how to balance out very specialized, powerful characters? This undead turning machine, if left unchecked, could have negated most of the danger of the campaign, but by going out of his way to counter that specialty, the GM made me feel too powerless. Anyway, that's probably better left to a whole nother topic. I told you.
He's got 4 in this email alone.
Right, yeah. Sorry. It's probably left to a whole nother topic, so with this random rambling, I'll leave you. To make my wife happy, and paraphrasing Jane Austen...
I love this.
Right, I take no leave of you, and I send no compliments to your mother. You deserve no such attention.
See, and I read that as Jane Autism.
Oh, Jane.
Oh my God. You are not playing good society with me.
We're going to, though.
We are totally going to. No, we're going to play it.
Yeah. I told Kimmy I'll run it.
Oh,
yeah.
And you need to play Bluebeard's Bride with me then.
I know, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually.
Okay.
That's an entirely different game.
Steven SoCal, the Grimace, all one word, on the forums.
The
Grimace has been around a long time.
And
I have
Steve,
a lot-
I'm just joshing you about the whole, like, writing long emails.
I have a lot to say about this.
You start.
The first GURPS fantasy setting was GURPS Fantasy. And instead of using made-up religions, they had Christianity and Islam. People were lifted from Earth in the Middle Ages, at some point, maybe the Crusades, and transported to this fantastic world. Some of them were crusaders from Christendom. Some of them were Muslims. The various races of the fantasy world, like the lizard men. There's actually, I don't think it's actually specifically said, but there's a picture of lizard men wearing Arabic garb, kneeling, or
Really?
which I always took as, okay, well, at least some of them adopted Islam. And there was a sidebar in that where they talked about the fact that, and I'm paraphrasing, religion is fundamental to people of that era. And it is not, it is dangerous, certainly, but it is not necessarily inappropriate to put real-world religions in a game, because it gives you real-world context.
Yeah.
And I've taken that to heart. That said, in Bloodblade and Tusk, if I don't know if you've read, if I sent out the...
No.
Okay.
I would love to read.
It's somewhere around 70
I know you
pages
did
at
a
this
bunch
point.
of work.
It's getting wordy.
Cool.
But there's like a big thing in the beginning where I talk about the fact, because I'm not a very religious person. I respect people who are religious, and I also respect their faith. I don't share it, but I respect it, and I understand where that I understand where it comes from.
Yep.
In a previous time, I had sought that kind of faith at some level or another. So I don't. When I introduce the religions in Bloodblade and Tusk, I do not denigrate them. I do create the possibility to use the Catholic Church, because we're talking about a period of time when the Crusades would have started, and suddenly there's orcs.
And you can't separate Europe and the Catholic Church over the last several centuries, like the last 1,000 years, 2,000 years,
well,
really. Pretty much
roughly.
Since,
you can if you decide you're going to play Warhammer or D&D or, but not.
Right. But if you're playing actual Europe, anytime in the last 2,000 years or so, you almost have to deal with the Catholic Church in one way or another.
And I think,
or the Holy Roman Empire, which gets even huger.
Well, I want to let you finish what you were talking about first.
My thing is, being real religions, and there obviously there is the ground is filled with caltrops because if you have players of these faiths in your game, you don't want to parody them. Mm-hmm. You don't want to blanketly say everyone who's part of the church is a villain. Mm-hmm.
Or a hero.
Right.
Or a hero.
Or a hero.
It needs to be instead of having black and white, it needs to be shades of gray, as wide as it goes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've tried to do in Bloodblade and Tusk, and what you guys saw in the game, the Catholic Church is mostly the heavy. But I've included stuff since you guys have done that playtest, because one of the reasons I cut off that playtest as quickly as I did is because I had a shit ton of ideas.
Oh, I'm sure. There were things that came up
and
we played,
one of the things I included was actual demonic possession.
Yep.
And actual demonic possession requires faithful people. Mm-hmm. Orcs have their own way of trying to deal with it, which I think is freaking hysterical. But the church can deal with it as well.
Yeah.
And that gives the church an entirely different light on the Catholic Church in that setting, because there is
demonic possession is real.
And
who are going to be the demonic possession cops?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep people safe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
and that
the Winchester brothers. But.
And that's one of the reasons that even before that, orcs show up. They're a warlike culture. They come in. They storm across France and right across the Rhine into Upper and Lower Lorraine or whatever, and they get stopped. And the only unifying force for humans in Europe is the church. I mean, it is literally the Pope who is saying, we have to stand against these creatures. We have to unite, end our petty differences, unite, because we are all Christians. And so there, historically within that setting, there is a reason why people are so faithful, because the church literally saved humanity from what would have been an insurmountable.
You're just recasting
and I think
Vikings as orcs.
Kind of.
Yes and no. I think what I found fascinating about it, because I never liked to play religious characters until I was kind of forced to play one in a game, and then I found something really fascinating about it. Because I do think, you can choose to play a character and you can build your moral compass or your ideology on whatever is in that character's backstory, whether it's, I'm a brain damaged servant of Tyr or something else. But what I found really, really worth exploring, and I'm going to make more of this than maybe what you intended, about Bloodblade and Tusk, if we would have continued to play, is I think there are all those gray areas between... so many times this has come up tonight. One of my favorite quotes, Steinbeck quote from Grapes of Wrath, is maybe there ain't no good and there ain't no evil. There's just stuff people does.
Right.
And that's what I think is fantastic about that, because it's like, is Adeste, is she a bad character? Is she a good character? Are the orcs bad? Are the orcs good?
Right.
What about our Muslim friends?
Everyone's the hero in their own story.
And I think exploring that and the ramifications, or I guess the kind of, I don't know, I guess the parallel lines it has to things that happen to us in real life are really fun to explore at the gaming table.
Absolutely.
Because especially when you're looking at, I don't think you cast the Catholic Church as a heavy necessarily. I mean, yes, but not to Adeste. I mean, And I think that's worth exploring, like, who are these people and why do they think those things? And, is there any sort of epiphany that takes place?
It's the church in medieval Europe, and it is, regardless of denomination, it is a powerhouse. It has all the money, it has all the power, it has corrupt people and honorary people as well, and all of the ramifications that are involved with that.
And at the era we're playing, which is somewhere between 1000 and 1200 AD, the Catholic Church is the government of Europe, except for the fact that they never have a standing army.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they never have that raw political power of being able to march troops somewhere.
Well, they just have mobs.
What they have is the hearts and minds of every
and
farmer
and the
in
leadership
Europe.
of Europe.
They
have those people in their pocket.
Yes.
So to bring this back to sort of fantasy, and all of this stuff is really, really cool. But there was a book that influenced my perception of gaming and fantasy, or of religion and fantasy. It's called The Deed of Paxenarian. It was written by Elizabeth Moon, and it's a 3-part series, and it's about this girl who...
Her name's familiar. Okay.
Paxenarian, there's 3 books. It's about this girl who gets sort of taken in from an abusive holder who, it's the only daughter, and long story short, she becomes a paladin. There hadn't been a paladin in the lands for generations. When the horse finds her, she suddenly is given these powers from this god. And it infected me because what had occurred to me was that paladins are chosen. That was fireworks,
by the way. It wasn't
Okay.
Paladins are chosen. Right?
Yeah.
And they may or may not even think they're deserved. They don't even know why they're chosen. They just suddenly are gain powered and a horse shows up and there's like, I'm yours and you are mine and we're going to go do this thing. And they're like, what? Yeah. And clerics choose. Priests choose. They choose to have it. And then again, we're dealing with separate magic systems as well, especially in a fantasy setting where there's the divine magic, which is given to you by a god for being devout, and then there's another magic that's out there that is completely separated from the gods that magic users use. So there's a complete magic exists,
or is it,
or is it?
That's one of the things I love playing with is that where does magic come from and
that. Absolutely. No, for sure. Rob played that in our Desert of Despair game that Jason ran, because Rob was a paladin, like kind of a born-again sort of black pirate dragonborn, and he kept telling Kimmy, who was playing their druid character, that her gifts were divine.
Yeah.
They weren't nature, natural magic or whatever. Right. It's like, no, that's divine magic.
Yeah.
Well,
you have a gift because a god has given you
and
the
that's the
gift.
tricky thing about a paladin is that a paladin or a druid even, where you have devoted yourself to a god, if you screw up, because basically the way I view it is the paladin is the avatar, is like a fighting man for that god on that planet. And if you screw up, they'll just take your powers from you.
It's the living embodiment of the god's will.
Right. It is their. Yes.
Yeah.
Holy warrior.
A holy warrior.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you screw up or aren't doing things right, they'll just take it from you. And clerics have it as well for the most part, but they also spend time devoting. So at some point, it's like, I slaughtered enough lambs. Here you go. You keep getting it.
Generally speaking, my preference when running a game, I would rather use real world religions.
Sure, it makes it less messy. Yeah.
Well,
because it's
it makes it more messy. It makes it more messy
because people can.
It can potentially make it more messy, but part of our collective zeitgeist involves all of the real world religions. I mean, we all know a little bit about Catholicism or Protestantism or Islam or Judaism or Zoroastrianism or all these different religions, and to include them gives a level of weight to the religion in the game. Now, if you don't want that kind of game, then I think, what did they use it? What did Steve Jackson call it in GURPS? Ugok the mostly omnipotent? Or something like that. I don't remember. Flume the mostly I don't remember. But he said one of the reasons he included Christianity and Islam in the default fantasy setting for GURPS was because he wanted to include religions that had relevance to the people who were sitting at the table.
Well,
no, absolutely.
To me, it depends on the setting. If I'm playing something that takes place in the real world or an alternate version of our real world, then I want those real world religions, and I like it just seems inauthentic to not have them present.
Yeah.
But I tend to play characters that are not religious when I play in real world settings. But when I'm playing in fantasy settings, I play a lot of religious characters. And one of the things I love about religion and fantasy is that it really is good or evil. And and when you have that alignment system, and you can say, yes, this is a good god, this is an evil god, and people who worship this god are generally good people, and people who worship this god are generally evil assholes, and never the twain shall meet.
Right.
To me, it's like it's one of those sweet releases. Like, I can play around with the idea of devotion and faith without having to have all that baggage.
If I were to come up with a fantasy setting that didn't use real religions and use fake ones, it would be so fucking gray you would hate it.
No, see, and I love that because it's all point of view.
It is.
It is point of view.
That's what I love about the Jedi. And because and like this is my favorite thing about the whole Star Wars series is that there's this whole prophecy about this kid's going to bring balance to the Force, and they're all like, "Yeah, let's find him and train him, and we'll bring balance to the Force because surely balance is going to be on our side."
Right?
It's like
balance means the good guys win.
Yeah. Balance means 2 of them, now 2 of you instead of thousands. So you won. Prophecy fulfilled. Good job, Jedi.
Yeah.
But like that, the hubris that it brings them to, and this is why, like,
Jedi are dicks.
Oh yeah, and I was so
self-righteous.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh yeah,
Let's not say dicks.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I was so
dicks.
sad about the not my Skywalker hashtag because I'm like, he figured it out, guys.
Yeah.
Like sorry, Last Jedi spoilers. It's not on DVD. Watch
it's all
it.
a fucking sham.
Yeah,
right.
And he's like, look at their legacy, hubris and arrogance and misguidance.
You sound just like him right now.
I know,
you
right?
do a really great. Mark Hamill.
Thanks.
Do me a favor. Say, I'm going to go to Tachi Station and get some power converters.
I want to go to Tachi Station and get some power converters.
You squeak a little more.
Yeah.
You know what? To be fair, I don't mind that because it
I don't
set
either.
up the
It's
whole
adorable.
farm boy thing.
Yeah, and
And whiny.
I know.
But
Look who's directing him.
Yeah, I loved that this is what Luke Skywalker came to because
I hated that movie though.
Because he grew from this like wide-eyed, naive baby.
I love that
to
arc.
being this incredibly self-aware and frustrated older man,
Bitter, angry old man. Like, I don't know any of those around.
Right?
But I loved that he's like the one Jedi who is like, it's just like this history of fucking up and that So to me, like that was just so mature and such a bold decision. I loved it. But that's why I like the Jedi is because there is this belief that if we do all these things right, everything will be better for everybody, and the Force will take care of us. And then there's this whole other group, the Sith, who are like, no, we're using the same stuff, but you use it for personal gain. And then there's this whole realm of like the in-betweens who are like, you guys are both being assholes.
The Gray Jedi.
The Gray Jedi,
call them,
And so,
which I like to think Ahsoka is part of.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah.
You forget, I am no Jedi.
Right? Yeah. So, I am no man. So,
if you guys haven't seen American Gods.
A
lot of this stuff is explored in there.
Oh, I love it.
There's a great scene, and I'll give a touch of a spoiler, but not a lot. Easter is throwing a party, and Wednesday and his sidekick all show up at Easter's party. And there's like 30 or 40 different Jesuses because of the different takes on Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that. It's a fascinating scene. It's fun. It's funny. It's weird. It's cool.
Yeah.
But American Gods really explores that whole. If you have one worshiper left in the world, you still have power.
At least some.
Yeah.
At least some.
And the more worshippers you have.
If you're on the fence about American Gods, I'll recommend the one episode. It's called Essie McGowan, The Ballad of Essie McGowan. And it is a wonderful, wonderful tale that takes a person from the beginning of their life to the end, and it shows how this works out. It's wonderful. It's my favorite one of the whole thing.
Yeah. And so as a little plug for Demigods, because I love that one of the conceits that Jason started with is similar but distinct, But his idea was that all the gods are real because people believe in them.
That's all that takes. And you get powers from them. You can't say no.
Right, yeah. It's like, no, they're real. And his whole idea...
Including the god of science.
Yes.
This is the best
This is
god
like
ever.
American gods.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Who resents his own existence.
Yes, there's this whole pantheon of
can't
gods
prove
of
himself into
science.
his existence, right?
And they're like, well, we're here.
Because
so
people believe in him.
By scientific evidence, clearly we are gods, and yet we really wish we weren't because you should science instead of believe.
Yeah, just
And it's
science.
just, like, so good.
Can I say something about this letter, though?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's a letter.
Don't let... Well, no, because we were talking about... This is a different aspect of it. You knew that character was in the game, GM, whoever you were. So, in defense of our rules lawyer friend who thinks he made a bad choice...
I don't think he was a rules lawyer.
I don't think so either, because if he took over a character... First of all, even if he didn't take over a character that was already in the game, you knew this character was in your game.
Right.
The turn undead character, the cleric, the religious character. Don't fucking neuter him in a penultimate moment. Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, and it could have been I still want it to be challenging.
I was like, that's not fair.
And it just got out of hand and made him feel powerless instead of challenged.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, again, like GMs, you have this sacred responsibility. Like, listen to what your players are asking for, and try to work with that. But also, players, like, be reasonable. That's
but if you made a player that's really good at one thing, don't let them do that one thing.
Right? Yeah. And I would say like when that one thing that they're good at comes up, let them fucking blow it out of the water. And then like throw them instantly into something that just completely has like they can't even handle.
Yeah.
Like behind all of the undead vampires is a band of orcs.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
and you just blew all your channel energy turning that undead.
Go, here's your 1d6
have fun without
plus
healing.
Strength mace.
Right. Yeah. Here's your 1d6 plus strength mace. Yeah.
Go hit that.
But
thing.
that's when it's fun. It's like you let them shine, or there's the whole batch of undead orcs and they bash, and they have this huge fight, and then the lich shows up and the cleric just stands up and goes, "Fuck off."
Yeah.
That's a fun moment too.
Yep.
But give them balance. Make it so that they get to shine and they get the challenge in a different way.
Totally agree.
Now he says, on a related note, how do you deal with fantasy faith in fantasy worlds where deities are demonstrably real?
Love this question.
I would say, first off, because I've been doing some reading about the era between 1000 and 1200 AD.
Right.
I would not call what they had faith. It was absolute conviction.
Yeah.
Those people absolutely, without a doubt, believed.
Yeah.
Because any good thing that happened to them, that was God's will.
Yeah.
Any bad thing that happened to them was because they weren't being faithful enough or because Satan was
They're testing
Satan
them.
was not really as much of a construct in the Middle Ages as
Yeah.
was later.
But God would test people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean those people had. Those people wouldn't have been more faithful if someone showed up and brought lightning down on someone.
Right.
I mean, it was absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
that's fascinating.
And honestly, I that still goes on, and as somebody who was raised in this super conservative, very literal reading of the Bible, Christian household. Like, it was just assumed, like, yes, Jesus is always watching you. Jesus is right there in a very literal, real sense. And, like, you can't see him, it doesn't matter. And but he is right there with you at all times. And the Holy Spirit is watching over you, and sometimes it can enter your body and give you great things, And God the Father is sees and knows everything. Like, it is, like, you don't think of this, like, if you're really in your religion, you don't think of it as oh my God isn't demonstrably real. Like, Jesus's works were around me in everything I saw because I believed that to be the truth. And I have lots of friends and family who still do. And that's fine. I have left all of that. But
like Stu was saying, exploring those different things in a game are just I don't know. I just think it's fascinating, that kind of
fantasy
faith
world,
and
those gods
conviction. And
actually exist.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not denigrating religion, but
Yeah.
Pelennor is actually giving little dwarves power, and the Raven Queen is also giving people power.
What I'm saying is, in medieval Europe, that level of conviction was exactly the same as if God literally came down, stood in front of you and says, "Yes, I am God. This is my son Jesus. I'm very proud of him."
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's literally that the level of conviction is that because. So honestly, I don't think the difference between a real world setting where you have people of faith and a fantasy setting where the gods are quote unquote real. Yeah. I don't see a distinction between.
And there's a great example in this letter, the story of Joan of Arc, the previously mentioned acolyte of Tyr.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like this
well,
acolyte.
That's what I was thinking of when we were talking about that. Yeah.
This acolyte of Tyr story is so very similar to Joan of Arc, and she thoroughly 100% believed that God was real and talking to her.
Well,
maybe it was Tyr.
I think you're only you do have to have, and I think our email writer said this because we've been talking for a while.
Steve from SoCal.
Yeah, Steve talked about this, but I mean, you do need to be aware of the people who you have at your table because. You know, while some of us might feel like we're exploring certain aspects of, having that conviction or faith, if you're going to play with someone who has that type of real life faith, you might want to be aware of triggers or things that are offensive.
If you're dealing with real world religions, you have to treat them with a level of respect.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think
respect for the people at your table.
Even if you don't have people at the table with that faith,
I
think you should anyway.
There's baggage attached to it,
Well, no, it's just why be a dick?
Yeah, if you respect that. Yeah. No, I totally agree, Stu. Yep.
There is something else. This is a really meaty email. I mean, seriously, it could have been 4 different topics, but there is another thing.
I almost took this email and made it the top.
Right? Yeah.
There's another thing that occurs to me, or it occurred to me while you were reading this, is like, okay, let's say you're a god of, or you're a cleric of Pelennor, and you're going into an area that is not necessarily a believer of Pelennor. Let's say you're in, I don't know, let's say elves or orcs even. Does your God's power diminish? Because you're not in friendly territory, there's less to go around. I mean, that's something maybe to play with a bit because you're dealing with multiple religions, with multiple gods that have multiple power and have favors scattered throughout the land.
Generally, in most fantasy settings where you have made-up gods, it's a pantheon.
Yes.
And no one denies the existence of all of the gods.
No, and there's respect for, even though this may be my god of choice, that god is...
Right.
Yeah.
They generally believe in and respect all of the gods.
It's similar to people in Catholicism who will pray through a particular saint.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's similar to that.
Yeah. I get it. No, I understand that.
But I have to say, that idea is so intriguing to me. And with a GM who would really handle it with seriousness and balance.
Because even now, religion's regional.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Northern Ireland, it's one thing. You go to Southern Ireland, it's another.
Right, yeah.
And yes, that's
called Northern Ireland and Ireland.
I'm just saying.
Sorry to our...
2 Irish listeners.
There is no such thing as Southern Ireland.
Anyway.
There's the southern part of Ireland.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ireland.
I'm sure that's what Stork meant.
With their balmy beaches.
And
margaritas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Margaritas.
That's the one that Jameson's
Margaritas.
That's really
I guess the trill is this.
Anyway, it's...
I want to play that game again, though.
Very interesting stuff.
I'm serious.
It's one of the... Once fair ends, obviously L5R. The other game I'm thinking about running... apparently Jason doesn't want to play in
the...
It is pretty crunchy for him.
Yeah. Was it too crunchy? Okay.
Well, I just
Adam
knowing.
Will play.
I mean, he's my buddy. Like, we play a lot of games together, and I know signs on his face when he's like, "Oh, I have to roll for this." I would watch it, and I'm like,
I don't know.
He loves the character stuff, and I could tell he loved the setting and the idea.
And he likes orcs,
but but I could see him going.
Well, it's also still
sitting next to me. Help him.
What's that?
It was also still a game in progress. It was still in
beta.
Yeah.
And there were so many changes I had to make after that.
Yeah. Well, and listeners are totally into that.
And I really kind of pulled the rug out on that game. It's like, Oh no, I have so many
stuff happen.
Yeah,
too.
so many
like
things I have to
scheduling
change.
and stuff like that. Yeah. There's just so much interesting
I'll
stuff
take
to
his place.
explore. See, there you go.
I like Crunchy better than he does. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's fascinating.
I like Crunchy as a player. I don't do Crunchy as a GM. No, just absolute no.
Well, I wrote
Yeah.
the game, so I know it.
Stu's quote.
No,
Do you remember it?
Yeah.
I like to narrate.
I like to narrate a great story.
I like to narrate story underneath a pile of crunch.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
What do you
Shouting.
think, Scott?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Languages revisited. GURPS. Yeah. From
Okay.
Daniel in Australia.
G'day, Daniel from Australia here, again with a brief missive. I'm shocked.
Don't use it.
Shocked, I say that.
They stop listening if you use an Australian accent.
Yeah.
They get
What?
offended. Yes.
I'm shocked. Shocked. Really, I had a couple compliments on my Australian accent.
Get
Shocked,
offended?
I say.
You were the one that made them mad.
Do Australians get offended?
Yeah. Well, because
Get out
we
of
end
it.
up with New Zealand.
Ooh,
and
that sounded
yeah.
more New Zealand
That was
right
a
there.
little
So you got to be
Kiwi.
careful.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. Shocked, I say that Stu, venerable GURPS.
I'm
almost
sorry.
Venerable GURPS.
I'm sorry.
Venerable GURPS.
Stalwart that he is would forget that GURPS
Yeah.
Yeah.
has the single greatest language rule ever written. And no, I'm not referring to anything in the core set. From page, actually, 57 to 58 of GURPS Discworld, I give you...
Stop right there.
Uh-oh.
Stop right
In my defense, I never bought GURPS Discworld. I did not know this existed. If I knew this existed,
Yeah.
I would have bought the game. I would have slept with it under my pillow. Go ahead.
Well, you were poor enough you didn't have a bed. It was just GURPS books. So
All right.
There's a sheet on it, to be fair.
The skill is
I remember that.
The skill is called.
Yes.
Yes.
Shouting at foreigners!
It
Shouting
really
at foreigners.
is.
Foreigners.
In Discworld, yes.
Mental hard.
Wow.
Default
mental
to
hard
linguistics is at -4.
IQ -6.
IQ
or health
-6.
-6.
Yeah.
Because that's the shouting part.
Yep.
Health -6.
If you just say it loud enough, they're gonna hear you.
It's
right.
Discworld. Come on.
It's shouting at foreigners. I'm sorry. What did you
Wow.
say? I'll say it again.
And
Why
what
is it always so much
and
Southern
what
accent?
he's providing
Where
is
is
the,
El Baño?
what he's providing is the actual text from the Discworld
Yeah, no, he
book.
is. This is
Continue.
fascinating.
Many people think that they can get by in any language by speaking loudly, slowly,
Right.
and clearly in their own, or by drudging up a few half-remembered words from old stories and books. On the disc, this sometimes works.
It works in real life too.
This skill permits the character to communicate with anyone who speaks a widely known Discworld language, given time and a minimum willingness to try on both sides. One skill roll is required per simple concept.
Where's the bathroom?
And that's key, per simple concept. Each attempt takes at least 1 minute.
Where donde el bathroomo?
A critical success means that some additional information gets across. Language talent adds to this skill. It has a default from, was it
Los
HC?
Cabrero's bathroom.
What's HC?
Health.
Health.
It has a default from health because a high health lets the character speak loudly and longer.
Oh my god.
That's genius.
Fucking Steve Jackson, right?
I think it's the American rule.
How can you not love
don't-
Steve Jackson?
I don't think anybody does that but,
Right.
but American people.
Americans, yeah.
Like, I've never seen a French tourist do that.
No,
Or
the French
a-
are loud.
I've never met
all
a
the
French
time.
tourist.
No, I've met lots of tourists through work. And I've
Sorry to all
never
our French
had.
listeners.
Yeah, no, but I've never had any of them speak loudly
Je
and
regrette.
slowly to me.
Optionally.
My ears
Nous
are ringing
avons
from what I just when
From
I just
you
screamed.
yelling? Of
My
course.
ears are. I made my own ears ring.
Optionally, characters may specialize in one narrowly defined form of communication. For example, Rincewind specializes in screaming and begging for mercy. And the dice be forever in
That's
your favor,
adorable.
Daniel from Australia.
Thank you, Daniel from Australia.
Oh my
And
god.
That was
That's some
adorable.
magical GURP shit right there.
Right?
Rincewind's from, Discworld, yeah.
I can't believe
Wow.
that exists.
That's
What's
amazing.
Discworld?
It's,
That's the. What's the author? I can't remember his name.
he had
I know,
Alzheimer's.
it sounds
Actually,
familiar.
what's his name? Neil Gaiman stepped in and helped finish a bunch of his novels.
Oh.
They
He went
collaborated
crazy,
on a bunch of
didn't he?
things.
No,
It's fallen out of my head.
He got dementia or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
And he
No,
passed
not Robert
away a
Jordan,
few
that's-
years ago.
I know who you're talking about.
I
yeah.
can picture the book.
I'm looking it up. Terry
Terry
Pratchett.
Good-
I was
Terry
just
Goodkin?
going to say Pratchett.
Yep.
Terry Pratchett.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually had the opportunity. They wanted to have the Boggards to come out and sing at Pratchett.
What?
Yeah. He was a very funny guy. He's sort of the Douglas Adams of fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Although I personally think he tries a little too hard. Douglas Adams, I think, is effortlessly funny. Mm-hmm. Terry Pratchett sort of seems a
Dirk
bit too
Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. You get the couch onto the
I know,
landing.
and then they.
I gotta say,
and nobody knows how it gets there.
Not a fan of the Douglas Adams Doctor Who stuff, though. Sorry.
That was a long time ago.
I know.
don't know the
I
Doctor.
watched all of them.
Fan of anything Doctor Who.
I love it.
Sorry, I just lost us so many listeners. Send all your hate mail.
You know what?
What's your emails to?
Up until like the most recent Doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his name with the fucking scarf?
Yeah, that was my Doctor, Tom
Baker.
Yeah, Tom Baker.
That was the one I watched when I was a kid.
Shit show.
And it was fine for me being
Lena.
5 years old.
Okay.
Here's the problem is that I'm now 44 and it still looks like the same damn special effects.
Yeah.
Well, because it was a kids' show.
It got.
Yeah.
It was.
and it was low budget.
It was.
And it was the 70s and the 80s.
The costuming was
better.
all pulled off of off the runs from
But
the Royal
hello.
Shakespeare Company.
Right, yeah,
It's like last
yeah.
year's run, and they would reuse them
Right.
for
Patrick
free.
Troughton is amazing.
It got better in like the last decade.
There's an episode where
Oh my
fat
God, and
cells
Ace
come to life.
And Sylvester McCoy, Radagast. Oh my God.
The makeup effects, like oh my God, those pig
And Robert
people,
Holmes,
and like the cat nuns.
Okay, which is the real dark Doctor? The one who only did one season.
Cardinal? Wait,
No, the guy
Eccleston.
Eccleston.
You're
Eccleston,
talking
yeah.
new
Did
stuff.
you watch the Eccleston?
I did not.
Eccleston's amazing.
I've been told that's the one I might
my
actually enjoy.
Yeah.
That's the one that got
Yeah.
me back into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The old
And
stuff
And
is
then I
cool,
stopped
though.
watching it
Yeah.
again.
But,
Eccleston is a dark motherfucker.
You know
Yeah.
what, though? He would be then. I thought he did a
Now,
fantastic
have
job.
you watched?
right.
I didn't even realize for the first season that it was him.
Yeah.
Eccleston is in.
Thor of the Dark World?
No. The thing that was on HBO.
Game of Thrones, Westworld, not helping.
HBO.
The Leftovers.
The Leftovers.
Oh.
No. That's a whole other topic that I probably get hate mail on. But
Yeah.
You don't like The Leftovers?
Okay. So there's this whole genre of TV shows where you have this great ensemble cast with these amazing actors, and it's all moody, and it's a slow burn, and like it's gonna be cool, and there's gonna be an awesome mystery, and then they reveal this super big surprise at the end of the first episode, and it's pointless and boring as shit. And that's why I didn't like Mad Men. It's why I didn't
got
like The
lost
Leftovers.
in its own.
Yeah, exactly.
like
Yeah.
that.
It got so caught up in its
And
own.
it's like
Leftovers didn't have their big reveal until the last episode.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem. Is
And it was lame.
Yeah. And
There should never have been a big reveal.
I watched 3 or 4 episodes, and I'm like, okay, you guys aren't giving me anything. And I checked out of Lost after 2.5 seasons. I did eventually finish it, but a lot of these shows, to me, they get so caught up in being dramatic and telling this long con that they don't concentrate on the individual episodes.
Oh, see, I saw Leftovers as
I
a
have
study,
issues with that, too.
a study in grief.
Yeah.
Because that's what it looked like to me.
That's how it's been described to me, and I get that. I understand that. And if that's what you're going for, fine, but don't tease me with alien abductions or the rapture if you're really just talking about this random weird thing happened, and now we're just going to talk about how people
In
grieve.
the last episode, they
Don't M. Night Shyamalan me.
Right, exactly.
In the last episode-
I got 6 feet under for how people grieve. That's way better.
Basically,
Oh my God, I was just thinking of that as you were talking. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
that's a perfect example
Yes.
of a thread that goes through a show.
Yes.
the big reveal. I'm going to spoil Leftovers.
It's fine.
In the last episode, one of the main characters, because there's a woman who lost her 2 or 3 children and her husband, and she holds the distinction as being the person who remained on Earth, who lost more family members than anyone else on the planet.
Okay.
And she basically finds these people who have come up with this machine that will take them to the other side.
Oh.
And she goes to the other side, and then we don't see any of that. She just comes back, and describes what she saw, and she saw her 3 children and her husband. He had met someone else, and they had a life, and so she realized their life was okay, and she came back. And that was the big reveal at the end of it.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch that.
The thing is, though, I was going through a very dark time in my life when that show started.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm watching that whole thing, and I'm like
Yeah.
weeping and crying as it's going on, and it was wonderfly cathartic.
I'm actually,
Wow.
I'm actually, when I talk to people about this show, I find actually that's a through line, is people who are going through dark times or difficulties, they're really just latching onto it and they love it.
Absolutely.
And it means so much to them, which is why I
You know
don't
why?
like shit
Because
on it.
what I was going through wasn't nearly as bad as what they were going
Right,
through.
exactly, yeah. And it just happened to come on at a time where I like suddenly went from like being miserable my whole life to being like, oh, I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Interesting.
Well, then that
these
showed-
people are losers like I was last year. Fuck 'em.
No leftovers for you.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
And also sometimes there's the burden of having to end a show. It's like Battlestar Galactica ended kind of with a whimper, and I'm kind of like, and it was such a journey.
I loved it. See, the thing is, there was a writer's strike during that.
I know.
Yeah.
God,
I
yeah,
binge
that's
watched it
rough.
years later.
And I know they also just threw darts at a dartboard to find out who were Cylons.
Yeah, they did.
Spoilers.
The last
They
six.
literally did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems that way.
It
Yeah.
does, doesn't it?
It does.
Not
It
with
seems
the
that way.
first one.
I
Not
like
the last six.
Yeah.
I
last
like
six.
the ending though. I like the ending when they end up and they come to Earth and it's like, this is a nuclear wasteland. We can't live here.
Yeah.
And they find another planet that has a similar primitive species, and then they do this little like flash forward thing.
Yeah.
I liked that ending.
And you're
I
like
think it was a
repeating the
wonderful ending.
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that bugged me really was
First
These
season
things have
was the
happened
best.
before, and they will
Yeah.
happen again.
it was just like Baltar still being like the fact that
Gaius.
Balthazar?
yeah.
Gaius
Gaius
Baltar.
Baltar.
Gaius
Bal-
Baltar.
Yeah,
Baltar.
Baltar.
Not Balthazar.
Balthazar.
But,
Baltar.
It just I don't know, like Six's consciousness still being around, sure, but Baltar's was like, really? Why? How?
I'm just upset that my favorite
Wait,
characters,
what?
like
He
they
was-
turned
See,
around.
I figured that
She isn't there anymore.
Who?
My favorite character, they just turned
Sick.
around. She's not there anymore.
Oh.
well, she was that right.
I know.
She was the angel of death.
Clearly.
Yeah. There were some problems, let's say, but yeah. But those first couple of seasons were just like, holy shit! I can't
First
believe
season
this
in
is
particular
happening.
was
It's
so good.
Oh yeah.
Well, even the season on New Caprica.
Yeah.
What's that one called?
was like
33.
dark
that
as
season?
33.
But I
Yeah,
brought
right?
that up
Oh
only
my
to-
God, 33.
Only to show that the journey
Yeah.
was
No,
more
it was
interesting than the actual ending.
so
And
good.
sometimes the
Yeah.
ending, you're like, because nobody wants it to end.
Right.
You're like, I was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
caught up in all of this. And yeah, they've had some seasons that were better than others. The
Yeah.
whole scene where they're on the planet.
Wouldn't
in
it be
prison
awesome
years,
if they did a Battlestar Galactica series where they show up at Earth and it's like 800 years in the future, and
Yeah.
we have these giant fucking starships, and it's like, oh, we'll take care of the fucking Cylons. Don't you worry about it, son.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. I still maintain that Battlestar Galactica was just a Star Trek prequel. So
Sure.
you know, like
Are you watching
It's actually
season
Scientology.
4?
Oh, yeah.
Eclipse.
No, it.
I'm watching what?
Sorry, Mormons. Sorry, Mormons.
yeah.
I'm totally saying it wrong.
What
Oh my
across
God,
the-
I want to say Eclipse Phase.
I'm sorry.
The Expanse.
Yes.
You tripped
The Expanse.
logo.
Oh shit!
I
Sorry.
know.
Oops.
Thanks, Jib.
The Expanse.
Maybe.
Yes, I'm in the middle. Of,
Okay.
I'm in the middle
Oh my God.
of
Right?
season 3 of The Expanse.
Ooh, I haven't seen any of season 3 yet. I'm just like,
Yeah.
Christian Avasarala,
Oh my God.
she is the flower of profanity.
Yes.
I
she is
love
so-
her.
I hated her in the first season because she doesn't show up in the first book.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
She
I
doesn't
heard
show up
that.
until the second novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first 2 seasons are the first novel.
Yeah.
And I don't think they knew what to do with her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did not like her character. When I read the second book, she was my favorite character.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Christian Avasarala's in this one.
This is like every single moment just about of that entire show, the first 2 seasons is amazing, but there is one moment where I just like threw my fist up in the air and stood up and cheered, and it was just so perfect. And it's when they're in they're interviewing Bobby from the Martian.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It's season 2.
Yeah, and Christian Avasarala is asking her questions, and the Martian ambassador goes, "Where are you going with this?" And she turns and she just goes, "Wherever the fuck I want."
Right?
And I was like, scared of you, bitch. Damn. I'm like, yes.
Have you read the books?
No, I haven't. I got it.
She's way more profane in the books.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I was just impressed that they found
You nutless fuck.
Somebody,
that they found someone to play Bobby, because there's probably only one person on the
she's
planet that
so
can pull it
good.
off.
It's either her or it's going to be the woman who
Gwendolyn
plays.
Christie, yeah.
Yeah,
But
And they'd have to make her look Pacific.
they actually found a
Yeah.
Yeah. This girl
She's
is good,
awesome.
and there's
Yeah.
there's
She's
some-
amazing.
and I will tell you, my
she has the physicality.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
what's his name? Tom Strain as Miller.
Oh yeah, he was good.
So
But
good.
I have to say, my favorite character though is Wes Chatham as what's his name? His character's name. He's the
The engineer.
he's
I don't
he's
know
the big
anything.
badass. The
Amos?
Amos. That's
Amos
it. Yeah,
is
Amos.
so
Amos.
good.
Oh, see, in the novels,
He's in the help.
they allude.
And
to
I was like,
Yeah.
who's that guy?
in the-
Who's that guy?
They allude to it a little bit in the
Yeah.
books,
Oh,
but
he's so good.
Amos might be a sociopath.
Yes, I
Might
absolutely believe he
Well,
is.
yeah.
He is, but he's like
He's amazing.
he's
They've
the
never
most
explored it before.
tender-hearted
Yeah.
sociopath and also crazy
Kind of.
hot. But
Yeah, no,
he
that's-
just like he'll be going through some event and he'll turn to somebody and he'll just say the most random ass creepy shit, but you're like, that's fucking deep. Like that, like he just has these one-line
I'd kill you
quotes.
right now.
He's
Right.
kind
Naomi wouldn't like it though.
of yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's,
Like my,
and it's
did you
like,
watch-
oh, great.
did you watch Black Sails?
I watched the first season.
Because
of
it's
Black
kind
Sails,
of
yeah.
like, for me, that's
finally finished
it's
it.
like
Yeah.
Charles Vane and that. It's so good. And Charles Vane is not a good character.
Oh, no.
But he is the one guy who his moral compass, like he is on his true north.
Yeah.
And he's not going to, and Amos is like that.
Yeah.
It's like they are true to themselves.
Right.
And it's just, oh.
Yeah.
You know that the backstory behind the creation of the Expanse. It's a group of people, and they actually created it.
It was
RPG.
They were working on an RPG.
Yeah. And so this was the world that they were
And
setting
it got
up.
the rug got pulled
Yeah.
out from under them, so they decided to write a novel
So
instead.
they took all that
There was a
work that they
game
had and
world
turned it into novels.
that they were doing.
Talking
A
about
video
feeling
game, I thought.
robbed.
Right?
Yeah.
I want that RPG.
So you see how I brought it all back around to gaming
I-
notes? And now we can read
I
the
told
logo.
you, I got to talk to them
Done.
at Comic-Con last year.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
I was like, you're going to think this is really stupid because it was a video game.
Yeah.
Video game, a bunch of research they had done. And I was like, you should totally make a game out of this. And he was like, really? Da-da-da-da. Because, and then didn't they announce, is it Green Ronin?
Probably.
They're
Green
making it a game.
Ronin.
Green Ronin?
It
That's what
rhymes.
they call it.
Nutsack motherfucker or something. But I don't know. I was just being Avasala.
It's not
Brain
a green
egg,
Mandalorian
yeah.
and the two-pronged
But
crown.
there is a game coming out.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's
Expanse?
I think it's
Everything
Green
gets turned into a
Ronin.
game. Big
Yeah.
Trouble in Little China got turned
No,
into a
Green
game.
Ronin.
Ronin.
I listened to a podcast
Are you kidding
just
me?
before
is.
we
It's
actually
Ronin.
started doing our podcast.
It is Ronin.
And they had one of the guys on there, and he's like, "It's Green Ronin."
It is Ronin.
Really?
I've been corrected
Okay,
before
Green
too.
Ronin.
Taffy corrected us numerous times too.
But I
and
believe,
Green Ronin rhymes much better than Green Ronin.
There's
You know what? There's a
game coming
movie
out.
with what's his name called Ronin, and
Yeah.
that's pronounced Ronin.
Ronin?
Yeah.
With-
Oh yeah.
Italian-looking guy. Come on.
I don't know.
one of the greatest actors on the planet. I know his
I
name
know
now.
who
Go
you're
ahead.
talking about, and
Come on,
I can't.
come on.
I can't
And
remember his
it's not-
name.
One of the greatest
Antonio
Italian
Banderas?
actors
Oh,
on
no,
the planet, and it's not Al Pacino. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Go
can't.
ahead.
Marlon Brando.
No.
De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
I looked it up.
I was going to say Robert Duvall.
You gave it to him. You said with Robert De Niro. Come on.
Yeah. I looked it up.
Robert Duvall.
Bob Money.
Ball money.
It's all about the Benjis.
So,
should we call it?
come to fair tomorrow.
Yeah,
Come to fair tomorrow. We have a meetup tomorrow. I'm going to try to get this episode posted. So
Adam will be there, right?
I will not. No. I
Really?
I am in
You got a life?
I do, actually. I am in the middle of campaigning to run for
nice.
business representative of my union. It is taking up a tremendous amount of time. I'm having to do a lot of peopling. And so
You need to borrow some Sharpies to make posters?
I do, yeah. Right, yeah. So it's just been kind of all consuming. So a lot of if I'm not here, I'm campaigning and trying to win that election. So, yeah.
Still will be there.
So I will not be there.
Stork will be there.
sadly. I
I'll
wish
be
I
there.
could.
Kimmy will be there.
Kimmy will be there.
Kimmy will be there.
I think,
Law
will
Max,
be there.
I think Mac's going. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
Sam's going. I don't remember.
A lot of people are. Yeah.
Nah, lots of
I know
people.
I'm getting a
And,
lot of tickets
Dave.
tomorrow morning.
Please come and introduce yourself.
Epoxy Badger.
Seriously, please come and introduce yourself. And even if you introduced yourself before, reintroduce yourself because my brain's like a sieve. I can't remember.
And
shit.
remember, Stork will blow you off. That's She's just a dick.
Most of the time, I have to pee.
Yeah.
Usually, it's like people come up and talk to me, and I'm like, I got off stage, I just drank a gallon of beer, and I got off stage, I'm like, hey, how's it going? How's it going? It's great. No, really, I got to go.
I have to get right off stage and decompress.
Don't let him fool you.
There is
like
that.
as soon as we say cut on this podcast, he just like bolts out the door and doesn't even say goodbye to
Says,
us.
"Fuck you, people," and he leaves.
Yeah.
He does.
I'm
He totally does.
awful.
peeing on Stu's tree out there.
Right?
Pee on the potato plants.
I can't see them in the dark.
Oh, because
All
will
right.
it keep the puppies off?
No,
don't know.
fertilizer.
What? Pee? No, pee
Yeah,
is...
you need the phosphates.
Pee on tomatoes too.
Yeah.
What?
You didn't know that?
This is other interesting tidbit brought to you by Happy
Soda
Jacks,
ash and
the
urine.
Wow.
RPG
That's
podcast.
what you want to.
Right, yeah.
That's what you want to fertilize with is soda ash and urine.
All right.
Did you ever watch the?
No, I thought it would be too alkaline or something.
This
I don't know.
podcast of RPGs, TV film criticism,
Yeah.
and
Fertilization.
fertilization of
Gardening
gardening
tips.
tips.
All right,
now-
all right.
Oh, yeah, Shadowcon, too, tomorrow night.
We're listeners of
Thank you for joining us for season 21, episode 17 of Happy Jack's RPG podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Gina.
My name is Adam.
Stork.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow at our meetup at Fair at noon at Rogues Reef Stage. And if you're not local, I'm sorry. Maybe next year.
We'll post
You
that.
can come anytime and come and see us. We don't mind.
We'll talk about shows we like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and we'll leave you with a song.
Bye.
Boy.
Dungeons and Dragons, Hero Pathfinder, Fate or Savage Lands, evil plots will be usurping, though we could do with less burping. Happy Jack's podcast will be douchebag song. I'd rather have lager than lie. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have whiskey than wealth. For riches bring thieves of great stealth. The wealthy drink wine and on pheasant they dine. But give me a keg and a fine turkey leg, and I'll eat, drink, and toast to your health. I'd rather have lager than lie. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life.
I'd rather have beer than have fame, for drinking's a much safer game. Though bravery's a virtue that warfare can urge you, let other men fight while I drink every night and gain a less sober acclaim.
I'd rather have lager than lie. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life.
I'll take good ale over girls. They chitter and play with their curls. Young women complain and cause me great pain. But with ale as my mate, I'll thank God for my fate while I give her a necklace of pearls.
I'd rather have lager than lie. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than lie. I'll take a strong stout over stride. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than lie. I'll take a strong stout over stride.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire. Bum, 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 bum.
You dress in the manner of a male prostitute.
Go away, Baton.
Why problem make when you no problem have you don't want to make?